Have you ever wondered why Arab countries have such a strained relationship with Israel? To understand this, we need to journey back to the late 19th and early 20th century to the birth of the Zionist movement. The Zionist movement, founded by Jews from Eastern and Central Europe, sought to establish a Jewish homeland in Palestine, an area that was then part of the Ottoman Empire. Fast forward to 1917, in the midst of World War I. The British government issued the Balfour Declaration, which supported the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. While this was seen as a victory for the Zionist movement, it sowed the seeds of discord with the Arab population, who comprised the majority in Palestine. The conflict was further fueled by the creation of the State of Israel in 1948. This event, known as the Nakba, or catastrophe by Palestinians, led to a mass displacement of Palestinian Arabs, creating a refugee crisis that persists till today. It's important to note that the creation of Israel was not merely a political act. It was accompanied by violence, with both sides suffering losses. The establishment of Israel also sparked a series of wars with neighboring Arab states, who rejected the partitioning of Palestine and the creation of a Jewish state. These wars, coupled with ongoing tensions over territories and borders, have further complicated the Arab-Israeli relationship. So, as we can see, the roots of this conflict lie deep in the past, intertwined with the very creation of the State of Israel. The Arab-Israeli conflict has seen a series of significant events that have shaped the region as we know it today. Central to this narrative are the major wars that have punctuated the timeline of this enduring conflict. The first of these, the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, marked the birth of the State of Israel, a pivotal moment that triggered a wave of conflict with neighboring Arab states. This war, also known as the War of Independence, was ignited by competing nationalistic aspirations and territorial claims, culminating in a struggle that set the tone for subsequent conflicts. Moving forward to 1967, we come to the Six-Day War. This was a swift yet significant conflict that saw Israel in a preemptive strike, capturing the Sinai Peninsula, Gaza Strip, West Bank, Old City of Jerusalem, and the Golan Heights. This war vastly expanded Israel's territory, and the repercussions of this expansion are still felt today, particularly in the ongoing disputes over the West Bank and Gaza Strip. Just 6 years later, the Yom Kippur War of 1973 erupted. Initiated by Egypt and Syria, it was a conflict launched on the holiest day in the Jewish calendar, Yom Kippur. Despite initial successes, the Arab forces were eventually repelled and the war ended with a ceasefire. The outcome did, however, lead to a shift in the dynamics of the conflict, paving the way for subsequent peace negotiations. Two of these peace negotiations, the Camp David Accords and the Oslo Accords, stand out as significant milestones. The Camp David Accords, brokered by US President Jimmy Carter in 1978, led to the signing of a peace treaty between Egypt and Israel, the first of its kind between Israel and an Arab state. The Oslo Accords, signed in 1993, marked the first direct agreement between Israel and the Palestine Liberation Organization. It provided a framework for future negotiations and the potential for a two-state solution, central to the Palestinian quest for statehood. These events have left an indelible mark on the Arab-Israeli relationship, shaping the narrative of hostility that continues today. Fast forward to the present day, and the Arab-Israeli conflict continues to evolve. In the last few years, we've seen significant shifts in the landscape of Arab-Israeli relations. Some Arab nations have taken steps towards normalizing relations with Israel, marking a departure from the long-standing Arab League policy of non-recognition of Israel. One of the most significant of these shifts is the Abraham Accords. Signed in late 2020, the Abraham Accords formalized the normalization of relations between Israel and two Gulf states, the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain. This was a historic move, as the UAE and Bahrain became only the third and fourth Arab states, following Egypt and Jordan, to establish formal relations with Israel. These normalization agreements have come with a slew of mutual benefits, including increased trade, travel and cooperation in areas such as healthcare, security and technology. For instance, Israel and the UAE have recently signed a tax treaty aimed at promoting business activity and strengthening economic ties between the two nations. But not all Arab states are on board with this trend towards normalization. Iraq, for example, has recently passed a law criminalizing any attempts at normalizing relations with Israel. This law goes beyond the existing ban on Iraqi citizens and companies visiting Israel and is seen by its supporters as a victory for the Iraqi people and for Palestinian and Lebanese groups like Hezbollah. And then there's the ongoing Israeli-Palestinian issue, which remains a significant factor in Arab-Israeli relations. The Palestinian quest for statehood is a condition that countries like Saudi Arabia have made for any eventual normalization with Israel. This issue continues to be a source of tension and conflict, not just between Israelis and Palestinians, but also between Israel and other Arab states. Morocco is another example of a nation that has chosen a different path. It has signed a trade and investment cooperation deal with Israel, aiming to increase their annual trade volume significantly. This is part of the implementation of a deal to resume ties, brokered by the Trump administration in 2020. However, it's important to note that these developments do not mean that the Arab-Israeli conflict is anywhere near a resolution. Tensions and disagreements still run high, and the situation remains volatile. The Arab-Israeli conflict in its current state remains a complex and multifaceted issue. The Arab-Israeli conflict is not just a simple matter of Arab countries hating Israel. It's a complex web of historical, political and socio-economic factors that have been woven together over the course of decades, even centuries. Just like any other part of the world, the Arab world is not a monolith. It's a diverse collection of nations with varying perspectives and interests. Some nations, like Iraq, have taken firm stances against normalizing relations with Israel, seeing it as a betrayal of Palestinian rights. Others, like Morocco and the United Arab Emirates, have sought to establish ties with Israel, driven by economic incentives and shared strategic interests. And then there's the role of external forces. The United States, for example, has long been a key player in the conflict. Historically, it has been a staunch supporter of Israel, but it has also brokered peace treaties and provided aid to Arab nations. Its influence can be seen in recent normalization agreements between Israel and several Arab states, agreements that have been met with both praise and criticism. Iran, on the other hand, has been a vocal proponent of the Palestinian cause and a staunch opponent of Israel. Its influence can be seen in Iraq's recent law criminalizing the normalization of relations with Israel, a move seen by some as a victory for Iranian-backed groups. And let's not forget about the socio-economic aspects. Trade agreements, industrial cooperation, tax treaties, these are all factors that can influence a nation's stance towards Israel. They highlight the interplay between politics and economics, and how the pursuit of prosperity can sometimes lead to unlikely alliances. But despite the complexity, one thing remains clear. The Arab-Israeli conflict is not just about Arab countries hating Israel. It's about a struggle for self-determination, for security, for recognition. It's about historical grievances and future aspirations. It's about power and identity, about justice and peace. And so, as we have seen, the Arab-Israeli conflict is more than meets the eye, a tangle of historical grievances, political maneuvering, and socio-economic factors. As we wrap up our journey through the Arab-Israeli conflict, we've seen the historical roots, the key events, and the current state of this intricate issue. It is a tapestry woven with threads of political, religious, and cultural complexities. Reducing it to a narrative of hate does not do justice to its complexity. The importance of understanding these nuances can't be overstated, as it fosters empathy and encourages informed discussions. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of the Arab-Israeli conflict. Remember to subscribe and share, and stay tuned for more insightful content.